Hello, welcome to this training video, so to speak. I'm going to be looking at the weak points and internal module locations of three tanks today: the T-29, the Tiger 1, and the Tortoise. And before I start that, it will be in that order, but before I start delving into all that, just one thing I want to bring up. These are not guaranteed module or crew kills, because every tank, their gun has a different amount of module damage that the shells will do. For example, let's use my favorite tank with the setup that I use on World of Tanks of the T-54 with the 100mm D10 T2S. And so this thing gives you a quick overview: 320 damage, 201 pin with the normal armor piercing, etc., etc. Now, the shells all do the same amount of module damage for this tank of 135. Now, every module on every tank has a different amount of module hit points, separate from the tank hit points. And what that means is, while you may hit a tank in damage for 400 or 320 in my case, the average module damage I will do if I hit where module is located is 135. There are some tanks that have a module health pool of around 400. And so it could take a couple shots to damage it. And if they don't have a repair kit, a couple more shots to destroy it. Very simple and straightforward. That's one of the things I want to point out, is that every gun has different module damage, and every tank's modules have a different amount of health, so to speak. So now that that is out of the way, let's continue. And we will start with the T-29. Alright, so for the T-29 Heavy, if you are forced to shoot at from the front, but you have shots at its hull, this section here, going across this whole section, do not shoot at the turret, you're going to bounce. But if you can shoot and pin in this section, you can actually damage the ammo rack and eventually lead to a ammo rack kill with a demolitions expert medal. And so the solo purple area right here is where the ammo rack is, looking at it from the front. There's one laying right there on the ground. Right here is where the driver sits. So if all else fails, you can shoot the driver. You can go for the tracks. But more than likely, if you have kind of the higher ground, you want to go for this area, the commander's hatch. There we go. Looking at straight on, same level, unless you have a tank same height or a little taller, you will more than likely bounce just because of the angling. So try and go for here, the machine gun port here, these little boxes, right, let's go with pink. These here are not even worth shooting at. It won't do anything to the tank. So let's take a look at the rear. From here you have the commander. In the back of the turret, there's the commander's hatch. Now we have, let me adjust my brush size here. We do have two ammo rack locations on the back of the turret. As you can see, this one here does go in a bit further than the one on the left. So it's better chance of hitting this one. This whole green checkerboard area, that's the engine. So if you want to damage their engine or stop them dead at their tracks, that's the area to shoot. Now, let's do this. These little blue, that's a bad color. Let's do white. These little blue spots right there are the fuel tanks. Not a guaranteed hit from the back, more likely going to hit the engine, but that's all the modules and internal crew from the back. Now from the side, there's a lot more to do. We have our gunner, and I'll do all the crew members in black. Yeah, me, I thought that was a box. So we have our gunner, our loader, and our commander, all right there. And then red, this is where that ammo rack from the front is at. It's in right there on the bottom of the hole. And it's same on both sides. Same here with this ammo rack. From this little portion of the back of the turret sticking out where the commander sits, ammo rack on both sides. That fuel tank that was so hard to hit from the back, it's right here. From about the back of the turret ring to about the start of these exhausts. And then you have a bit of the engine right there. But the best shots from the side, don't even worry about this. Tracks are going to more than likely eat it over and over. This ammo right here, if you have a shot at the side of the turret, and these fuel tanks to set them on fire. That's basically the best places to shoot at a T-29. I'll give you a visual, or more I'll give you a video to look at to where I can show you without having these visual guides. So I will see you in a bit. Alright, so for the T-29, have the cleaner helping me out here. And look from the side. Currently I'm driving my MT-25. Right in this area is where the ammo rack would be. It's kind of between those two areas. It is on the very floor, the very bottom, on the floor of the hole of the T-29. Usually shooting it from the side, not going to do anything. The tracks are going to eat it normally. Come to the side of the turret. We do have the ammo rack right here in that kind of back area, hanging out over where the turret starts to go up. That hangs out right over that engine deck. And chose this tank because it will pretty much bounce. On this side, it's pretty much same thing. You got the ammo rack, same setup, in that whole back section. And there's also at that commander's cupola going down. Right beneath it is the commander of the tank, and so that would be worthwhile shooting. And same thing for the tracks over here, where that floor ammo rack is. It's right where I'm shooting, kind of in those boundaries. And let's see, gonna head up here to the front and show you what all is up here. So right in this area is where the driver would be located. So if you have the pin to hit right there, that's where the driver is. And you can also sometimes hit the ammo rack right here. Of course, I'm not doing it. I don't have the module damage to damage the ammo rack by shooting right there. And now we're going to take a look at the side here. Right in this area, from the turret ring, back a bit, towards about where those, I believe they're logs. not 100% sure, they could be exhaust. But right there is where the fuel tanks are, and it's where you'd want to shoot to damage fuel, possibly set them on fire. And it is like that on both sides. And right in between there is the engine. And so up here, ammo rack's right in that area. As you can see, damaged it, as well as right over here. I'm trying not to damage him too much so that I could get through the whole list here. Alright, and so now that section right there is where a fuel tank would be. Same with right here. And the engine's right in this whole area. I'm going to show you here, kind of go up and around. That whole little back area is the engine.
That one drilled straight through.
And shot just because I can, I guess. And it's the same thing over here, from the back of the turret ring to the start of the exhaust. Gas tanks, and the engine kind of sticks out past there, where the gas tanks end. Starting from, I believe, that last spoke. Right in that area that I'm looking at is where you could damage the engine. And I do have one shot left, I believe, on him, so I gotta try and be careful. But could hit the engine from there as well. And there are crew members in the turret. So basically, kind of above the start of the ammo rack where I showed you is the gunner. Right behind him. Yeah, so we'll show right here. The gunner would be about here. And then back a bit is the commander. And that's where your loader would be. And we know where the driver is. Showed you from the front. Well, go ahead, drive around here. To this side. Show you where it would be over here. Gotta get him to turn his turret back any second now. So right in that area is the commander. You could shoot anywhere there though for that ammo rack. So you got your loader there, and then gunner right in front. Now I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna finish this off, and that's where the commander would be looking at the back, but it'd be best to shoot at the ammo rack. Alright, so for the Tier 7 German Heavy, the Tiger 1, when facing it front on, like so, the weak spots are the commander's cupola, right here, machine gun hatch, right here. Now, the little checker board colors, similar to the last one, these kind of violet purple ones are the locations of ammo racks. So when shooting at the front, if you have the pin, aim for right here and right here. I'm going to make this a little smaller for my next line. Oh, not right there. Okay. As well as here and here to damage the ammo rack from the front. Now, right here, we do a blue. Right here is, we'll do this one white, because that is where the driver is at. The driver hatch. So if you want to disable the driver, shoot right here, you'll hit the driver. And this does depend on the tank you're driving and gun you're using, as mentioned earlier. Then this green area, do it in red. This is where the engine is. Well, the transmission's right here at the front of the Tiger. And that's kind of a downfall of some of the German vehicles, is the transmission is right here. And that can waste a repair kit, which could be needed for the ammo rack. Now going to the side, or the rear view, we have, I'll do all the crew members in black. We have the loader. I did it again. And we'll do this size. We'll have the loader here. And the commander right there. So you can pin them from the side right there as well. There's Commander's cupola. And from the actual back of the hull, in this area, I know. Fix that. Okay, so in this area right here is actually the engine. That small section. And then in here and here are the fuel tanks. Pretty simple. So shooting from the back, you can aim for loader if their turret is pointed in front of them and you sneak up behind. Try and knock out the loader, that way their load time is a lot slower in case they do decide to turn around and take shots at you. Fuel tanks are here and here, so you can do engine fires. And going to the side view, the only difference is on one side, I believe it's on this side right here. In this section, we'll do it in pink. Right here is your radio. Now, then we have the loader here, Commander's cupola here. The green, again, is the engine, with blue, and we'll do the fuel tanks yellow. So right there is fuel tank. Getting the damage, cause possible fire. But the main thing is actually going to be this right here, this section. It's a little flat portion. If you have the pin, definitely aim for there on the side, as that is the ammo rack. And it's on the turret on this, it's just right here on the side of the hole, on both sides. And I believe on the other side it extends out a bit further. But that's the weak spots on the Tiger. Now, again, just like the T-29, gonna do a video so you can see their general locations without the visual aids that are color coded here. And I will see you in a bit.
The Tiger,
It's pretty simple. It's not pretty simple. There's some pretty simple things to remember. This, starting from the front, this whole front spot right here, engine. That shoot there. It's not the engine per se. It's the transmission. The Germans had the front transmissions. They were very susceptible to being damaged, especially in this game. And so that's a really good spot if you're facing them to shoot. And if you also shoot straight through that flat part, you can possibly damage the engine. We got the turret ring there, as well as on the sides the ammo racks, which I may go over later if I remember. From the side, the radio is about here, and right after that is the ammo rack. From there to about here. Pretty small area on this side. The other side is larger because there is not the radio is not there. And underneath that section, a little bit behind the tracks as well, is an ammo rack on both sides as well. That on the front, that Commander's cupola and the machine gun port are weak spots if you don't have the pin to just go toe to toe.
So I'm showing you right now about where the ammo racks are. And go back a bit, and you actually have shots at the engine here. And then a little bit forward and up is the fuel tanks. So we're going to take a quick look at the back here. And got the engine, this whole section right there, with the exhaust and such engines. That corner and that corner are the fuel tanks, about approximately where they're located. And again, you must take into account your gun's module damage when trying to hit these modules. And on the back of the turret you actually have the commander and loader. So right here, about here, and going back to the back of the turret, and then down same amount as the other side is an ammo rack as well. So from the sides, you want to shoot in that section. Don't worry about the turret. Just try and hit the sides of the holes, or the hole for ammo rack shots. You do have the commander here, as well as the loader and gunner. And from the front, those front corners, I may show you in a little bit, but the front left and front right corners are actually ammo racks as well, which is very nice. And so, again, here is where your ammo rack is. Have a radio operator there, driver on the other side. Your gunner is right there, and the loader is right behind him. And again, see, it's very easy to ammo rack this. Come behind, fuel tank there, gonna take a shot, no luck, I take a couple more, still no luck, then right, maybe one more, nope, nothing, no beans. And so, no engine damage, but from the front, usually pretty good chance of damaging the transmission, which is part of the engine. You can also get between that flat portion, like I said, take a shot, all that module damage added up, damage the engine. So, as I was saying, the front two corners of the Tiger are, you can hit, and excuse my jerk driving, was not paying attention. Cleaner. Then about this part right here is the fuel tank as well. It's both same thing on both sides.
It's a very small target actually. Place to hit the fuel tanks if you really want to is from the back. Another ammo rack. And I think I'm just gonna finish this off here in a second, just to wrap this up and go to the next. Alright, hello there guys. I'm gonna be going over the Tortoise real quick. Tier 9 British tank destroyer. Gonna start with the front view. When possible, and before I get into this, so when possible, I cannot stress enough how important it is to try not to go head to head with this. Go for the tracks and go around. Get shots into the sides or the rear. And maybe if I could speak, that would help too. So now, for the weak points. In the front, there's the commander's cupola, right there. Switch to box. This spot here, if you have a slight elevation advantage. The machine gun port here. Come on, paint. This little part right underneath the machine gun port. The viewport. The bottom part of the gun mantlet. And if you have the gun depression, and you have to resort to going head to head with this and you're face hugging, or you have the elevation advantage and can aim down. Some tanks even straight on. Right here you can pin, and that's the vulnerable spots on here. Now, as you can see, using different pictures from the last, because in my opinion these are a lot better. Now, on this one, Commander's Cupola, again, if you have out the height advantage, this spot here, again, just for some damage, as well as here, and the green colored portions here. Also on the rear sides, right there, you can usually pin. Now, these spots here, if you're shooting from the back and can pin, have a chance to damage crew members. Then the important spot here, let's go with some bright yellow, is this red chunk on this big British butt right here. That's the engine and where the gas tanks are, or the fuel tanks. Shoot there, damage the engine, cripple it, maybe set it on fire. And that's it for the rear. And going to the left side, we have the spokes right here. Oh, that's too big of a box. Okay. The spokes there. This portion here, let's make this blue. And that portion there as vulnerable spots. So all is right there. Your radio is there as well. Your radio operator, right there. Your commander, right there. And most importantly, we'll make it a nice little yellow to stand out. That ammo rack. That big chunk back here. If you have side shots, go ahead and aim for right there. Now the other side. Get a bit more to shoot at. Again, the spokes of the tracks. This Commander's Cupola right there. Now we're going to do this here. The driver is this little front triangle. Your ammo rack, again, right here. Let's do this next one. Red. Your gunner is located right here. And your loader would be right in this little section here. Those are the places to shoot from the side, the right side. Always keep it tracked as much as possible. If you have the rate of fire, track, shoot one of the weak spots here, track, shoot. That way they can't turn and take those shots away from you and end up shooting back at you and possibly killing your tank. And now we're going to do what I've done for the previous two tanks. And we're going to do a little video to show without the little guidelines here that are color coded. So I will see you in a bit. Alright, so taking a look at the Tortoise, as far as modules go, I explained where to shoot them on the sides in that part right before this. The best thing to do is look for the vulnerable spots, track them, get on their sides, just because it works a lot better that way for you, and it's a lot faster to kill one of these things, especially if you're the same tier or a lower tier. So I'm just going to briefly go over some stuff. On the left side here, you have the ammo rack right where I'm pointing. That's probably one of the more important things. Slow their rate of fire because they do have pretty decent rate of fire. So this section here from where those bolts are to kind of the line before the rectangle with the hooks on the top. That area is where the ammo racks would be. And then you have your same thing right over here. Very simple. Your commander's cupola right up there is a weak spot as well. So ammo rack area here. Weird. No. Nothing showing that I penetrated, but okay. So looking at it from the back, or actually gonna look at this, show you again. That little part in front, sometimes that can mess your penetrations up. Right in this area is actually whatchamacallit, where a good portion of the modules and crew members are, including your loader, gunner, and driver. And if you want to know exact locations, check that part right before this. So some more weak spots on the back of this, along with where the engine was. Then I'm going to take a look over here and show you where the radio is, as well as the commander and the radio operator. Right there's radio operator. Then go to the very front, show you the kind of vulnerable spots there. We have the commander's cupola there. This spot here, if you have the height advantage, that spot there, as well as that machine gun port, if I could talk, that would be great. Port. Then that little spot right there underneath the gun, not where I'm pointing, but right there where it's grayed out. As I get closer, you'll see that all of a sudden, when I aim, I can pin. And also the lower part of that gun mantlet and the viewport to the right. Other than that, you always should go for the tracks on this thing to get around the back. Pretty simple. Usually the best things for damaging the modules on heavy armor stuff like this is actually the big high explosive guns, artillery, the Death Star, Jaegeroos, anything like that that has that big kick. So this is where the engine is, and if I remember correctly, the fuel tanks are right around these areas as well. Yep, got them on fire. So right above those kind of tow hooks is a good spot. Right, that back part there, good pin spot. So as long as you can get around the side or the back, you're not going to have any troubles.